Hey everybody, Necroxis here, and I know that I put out kind of a goof video 2 days ago when Warlords, or not Warlords, we're done with Warlords for the most part, when World of Warcraft Legion was announced. And I was planning on putting out a video today which is basically like, the story so far, what do we know, what are the characters, what are the zones, what are the basic stories that we know, blah 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 blah. And I had most of the scripts all done, and I had some of the audio recorded, and I was thinking today, there was no possible way I was going to get the video out today. Earliest would be tomorrow, and tomorrow they're doing a Q&A, a big Q&A, where they're going to be revealing more stuff about, you know, mechanics and story stuff and stuff about artifacts and more lore information. So I figured I'll just delay the video 2 more days, have it come out on Monday, and I'll have all of this new information, rather than put a video out tomorrow with a bunch of stuff that could be clarified. Because in the script there's some things where I'm like, I don't know where they're going with this, and I also assume a couple things in the script that I don't know if they are true, but if we learn tomorrow that they're not, or something else is different, I don't want, you know, the video to be out at the same time that this new information is coming out. I think it's just kind of silly. So what's going to happen is, that video will be out on Monday. On Monday, I'm hoping to record a general thoughts / reaction video with Dunn and Howie, who I really haven't heard their thoughts because I know Howie has been busy at RTX this weekend. I really haven't been talking to him because he's been, you know, swamped. He's like isolated himself doing RTX stuff or whatever. And Dunn since the time zones are so different, I haven't talked to him that much about it yet. But so this video I wanted to put in its place just to give you basically general thoughts about how I'm feeling about the expansion so far, because it's funny, I noticed that when the expansion was being announced on Thursday, and I was stream of consciousness tweeting, which I do a lot of that. Like, almost all of my tweeting is stream of consciousness, which is why if you're like watching it live, sometimes I'll tweet something and then delete it because I misspelled something and then tweet it again, because I'm literally like tweeting as it's coming out of my brain. And I got a lot of weird reactions. People seem to think that I was hostile to everything that was coming out. And that's not true. There were some things I didn't like, of course, I'll talk about that in a second. There were some things I did like, there were some things that were really intriguing, and there were also some things that were confusing. And I got that same kind of reaction on my goof video, where people were like, Necro, how is this confusing, blah blah blah, I understand it perfectly, or Necro, this is a stupid video, it's not funny, why are you putting it out? And that video, honestly, was kind of, I recorded it literally after the stream ended, and it was really how I felt at that moment. I was just kind of like overwhelmed with information. And I tweeted out, and I'm serious, I sat here for like 10 minutes after it was done, and that was after I recorded it, that 2-minute video, and I was just sitting here just pondering World of Warcraft, because there was such a barrage of things from so many different angles that I really had to process a lot of the information. And I've noticed watching some other people who do lore on YouTube or talk about lore on Facebook or Twitter or anything else, they felt the same way. Even some videos from the very most popular lore YouTubers out there, like, they start out with them saying, like, there's so much weird information from everywhere, I'm not sure where to begin. But anyway, so for some general thoughts about Warlords of Draenor, there are some things I definitely like, some things that I am hesitant towards, some things that I dislike. But I think my biggest feeling right now is it's like anxiousness, because it seems like they're putting in so much story content for like 2 or 3 expansions worth of story into one expansion, which is really weird because we just had an expansion that was pretty unanimously now agreed that was just basically filler. Like, Warlords of Draenor was basically 2 years of filler just so we could get Gul'dan escaping to Azeroth. And as I was tweeting earlier today, we could have just resurrected him some other way and saved 2 years of development time. So I find it weird that we had like a filler expansion immediately followed by an expansion that seemingly, and of course it's not out yet, we don't even know a lot of information yet, but seemingly has enough story content for 2 or 3 expansions worth. Because, you know, we have stuff like, we have the Emerald Dream finally being in the game, we have Vrykul out of nowhere, which nobody I know saw coming, like 0 people. We have like a random Tauren clan, we have like 2 separate new races of elves, we have the Burning Legion stuff, of course, Illidan and Demon Hunters are coming in. It's like all of those things I feel like you could probably have their own expansions about. Of course, I mean, you know, Illidan and the Legion would be together, but everything else I feel like, and Demon Hunters in there, everything else I feel like really could just be their own separate expansion, like learning about the Vrykul, maybe not, maybe they could tie that into the Tauren one, but all of, like, there's a whole bunch of weird weirdly disconnected ideas that I don't know how they're going to pull it off. It seems like they have all of these different things like Tauren and Vrykul and demon hunters and elves, but they just brute force them all together by saying, and the Legion is controlling them all. I don't know if that's good or bad yet. I'll have to see how it actually turns out, but some things that I really do find intriguing. I find the demon hunter lore really interesting. Illidan, I initially didn't like Illidan that much as a character. He's been growing on me as I've done my YouTube channel, and I've been forced to kind of, not defend, but criticize the Burning Crusade version of Illidan, how it didn't make sense, and what he was doing was illogical, and he actually wasn't a villain. He's nowhere near like my favorite characters, but I have a better appreciation for the character. So I'm really intrigued to see what's going on right now, and I find it interesting that the devs have pretty definitively not been answering the question of is Illidan a villain? Is he with the Legion? What is he doing? Every single question that's answered like this is kind of just waved off with a vague, we don't know, and we have to follow him to find out what's happening, and blah 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 blah. And I know that the cinematic seems to imply that Gul'dan is resurrecting him or doing whatever to bring him back. But I think it would be really interesting, and I hope that's what they're doing, is that Illidan actually, he uses Gul'dan just to like come back, but then he turns on them, because we know that he sent the Illidari away. We learned this from the very limited information we have about the Demon Hunter introduction. He sends the Illidari away on some suicide mission to a Legion prison planet. And then they come back and they help us. They help us fight the Legion. And, Illidan was their master. So, I'm really intrigued with all of the Illidan stuff. I love Elven stuff. I love Naga stuff. I didn't even mention the Naga and the Yajara angle. Based on blue tweets or in blue posts on the forums, they're saying that Ajara herself actually is going to be in the game. I'm happy we're going to see her finally, but that is one of the things that I'm really hesitant. I have to see how they're going to do it. I really, really vehemently, incredibly strongly feel that Ajara deserves her own expansion. Ajara and N'Zoth deserve to be in an expansion together. That deserves to be an entire expansion experience. I think the character of Ajara is powerful enough to warrant that. I think the lore is interesting enough to warrant that. But at this point, I don't know now, because they're taking a lot of stuff that could be in that expansion and putting it in Legion. Like the Elven stuff and ancient Elven cities. And, there's Naga in this expansion, too. There's this weird Tide Priestess Elthrissa. I don't remember what her name was. I'm gonna check real quick. Tide Mistress Athissa is Queen Ajara's. Let's see. Her servants are few. None can match the fanatical devotion of Athissa. So basically, like her most fanatical, devoted follower. And initially, when I saw that, I thought, well, maybe Ajara herself won't be in the game. We'll just see the Naga doing things on her behalf. But on a blue post, someone was bitching that, this seems like a recycled BC expansion, and the blue post said, I don't know of any expansion where we saw Ajara herself play a major role. So, I still don't know if that means she's going to be in the game, or if just her forces are going to be a major part, because it really seems like it really does seem like Ajara is a real separate issue to everything that's going on. Even though I find it weird, I can accept, of course, the fact that there's these two new factions of elves or whatever, and they're loyal to the Legion, and this Tauren and the Vrykul, they're loyal to the Legion. But the Naga are an old god thing. The Naga are old gods. Like we learned that in Cataclysm, if we didn't even know that already, which most of us who pay attention did. The Naga are an old god thing. And sure, Ajara initially caused the War of the Ancients and wanted to meet and marry Sargeras, but they've transitioned that to old god stuff due to them becoming Naga. And I don't know if I like the idea that she's going back to Burning Legion stuff. So once again, I'll have to see how they do it, but I'm intrigued for that. I'm hesitant, but I'm very intrigued. Something that I do think, though, that once again, we don't know enough information yet, but that Khadgar becoming the leader of the Kirin Tor and Dalaran and the Kirin Tor becoming neutral again. I really do not like that idea. It seems to basically invalidate all of the story that we've seen and that we've experienced and we've helped build with Jaina becoming the new leader of the Kirin Tor, and the purge of Dalaran, and Dalaran becoming an Alliance faction. And not even from the Alliance perspective, you know, the Blood Elf stuff, I really like that the Sun Reavers became a Blood Elf thing. I thought that was cool. I wish we saw more of it, but I thought that was cool. So I really don't like the idea, even just from a story perspective, excuse me, that Dalaran's neutral again. That seems incredibly lazy. Also, from a gameplay perspective, just plucking Dalaran out of Northrend and bringing it to Legion. I know Dalaran's still going to be in Northrend for gameplay purposes for Wrath players, but I mean, still from a mechanical sense, they're just copy-pasting it and bringing it to Warlords of Draenor. Supposedly a couple things will be new, not only the Violet Hold dungeon that has more stuff in it, but supposedly stuff's going to be new, but I don't know. I think, I really... There's a way to do that right, where they bring something back and then update it. And I don't know if that's what they're doing, because from all of the things that I've read and watched so far, it just seems kind of like they're saying, hey, Dalaran's back, da-da! And it's like, remember Dalaran in Wrath of the Lich King? I'm getting super strong Warlords of Draenor vibes from that argument, where they're like, hey, remember Warcraft 2 and like Ner'zhul? Oh, he's back! And I don't know. I wish they would just do something new. That being said, another thing that I, once again, before people decide to post a comment saying this, I fully acknowledge, and I will flat out admit, and I'm open-minded to being wrong on this idea, but it really does seem like the whole artifact system, the way that it comes about for a lot of the major lore weapons, like Ashbringer and Doomhammer, and the Staff of Antonidas, which seems to be one of the mage weapons, which is currently in Jaina's possession right now. You know, the Bow of the Windrunner family. I don't know how you can get a lot of those weapons without just killing off those characters. And I know that they said fallen heroes and also heroes who have lost hope, but that still definitely implies that some heroes are going to die. And I really, really don't like the idea of killing off heroes just to get their weapons and / or just killing people off at the beginning to make it seem like this is important. This isn't... That idea to me seems like someone at Blizzard was like, hey, George R.R. Martin kills off characters a lot, and they think the story, and people think that story is good. Let's do the same thing. The difference is the build up to the characters dying and the importance of their death and the connotations and the ramifications of people dying, like Ned Stark dying at the end of Game of Thrones. It ripples across literally the rest of the entire franchise. But in this case, it seems like they're going to be like, Thrall's probably dead, or he gives up hope. Tyrion's probably dead. Jaina might die. Sylvanas potentially is going to be a raid boss. Let's just kill off a bunch of people to make it seem like this is important. I really don't like that idea, especially for Jaina. Especially after Jaina got this really new and interesting, whether you like it or not, I would say that at least it's interesting, this new twist on her character where she was so peace-loving for so long, and Garrosh finally drives her to become this warmonger, and she does come back from that a little bit, but she's still vehemently anti-Horde. I thought that was such an interesting twist to the character. I really liked it. I know some people don't, but at the very least, it was interesting. And to just undo all of that by saying, nope, she's not the leader of the Kirin Tor anymore, and that she's pissed off about it while she was leaving, and maybe killing her off for her weapon, it makes it seem like all of that development was for nothing. There is no payoff for it. So, in that regard, I don't like it. That being said, the artifact system from a mechanical standpoint looks awesome. You know, ignoring the part about the lore where it's absolutely like retardedly asinine that everyone's going to be running around with their version of Ashbringer or their version of Doomhammer or their version of, you know, Fellow Malorn or their version of, you know, the Staff of Elodie, the First Guardian. Ignoring how stupid that is from a lore perspective, the idea and the mechanics behind that system is really cool. I really like that idea, and I hope they deliver on it. Like I said in my video, it reminds me of the Skyrim system. That's not a bad thing, by the way. I love the change and the update they made to the Skyrim system after Oblivion. I thought it was great. So I'm really intrigued on the artifact system and how it changes your abilities and how, like, for example, Death Knights can then use raise death on themselves, and I'm really intrigued to see what can happen for Warlock stuff. So there's a lot of things here that I'm interested in, I'm intrigued in. There are some things I don't like. Also, by the way, they named one of the dungeons Eye of Azara. That's a little too far, Blizzard. That's a little too far. I get what you're going for with that joke. People want Azara so bad that they made up this whole fantastical thing about Eye of Azara, and I'm not the only one. It's been a thing for like the last 3 years. People have been speculating about it, but making a joke like, oh, that seemed like a good name for dungeon. That's a little too far for me, but I don't know. Like I said, right now this whole video itself is stream of consciousness, so if you probably couldn't tell already. But that's some of my thoughts about, you know, Warcraft Legion that we know of so far. There will be a video explaining the story that we know thus far. That's coming out on Monday. The podcast with Howie and hopefully Dunn as well will be out some point next week too. And then I'll put a more formal video together where I explain everything that I like and don't like and find intrigued and are confused about later on in the end of the week. So, thanks for watching, everyone. Hope to stay tuned, and there will be a lot more content coming out about the new expansion because, you know, as much shit as I give Warlords, I am still very excited for Warcraft Legion. Furthermore, the beta's coming this year, which means the game will be out early next year, which is good. Good. I think the prediction that, I mean, I didn't make it, but I talked about it at, in our first episode with Howie, where, you know, there's an expansion announcement at Gamescom, and then there's the beta at BlizzCon, and it comes out next year before the movie comes out. That seems pretty likely now. The announcement was now. We know the beta's coming later this year. What a perfect way for them to be like, BlizzCon, welcome everybody. If you bought a ticket or a virtual ticket, guess what? The beta starts when it's over, and all of you are in because you bought a ticket. Don't tell me that isn't something Blizzard wouldn't do. That is exactly something they would do. So, thanks for watching, everyone. There will be more content. Make sure to stay tuned. Leave all your thoughts about any of this in the comments below. But other than that, stay awesome. I'll see you next time. Farewell.